listening to the Bass Rebels streaming music playlist. What I've done is I've launched a Helm chart with CouchDB on my virtual machine. So I'm logged in here. I set my CouchDB to manage databases for each of the users, and I have 3 nodes in my cluster. Then what I've done is I've bootstrapped an admin user for my admin login so that I can make a admin database. Okay, and then what I'm coding is, just a sec. What I'm coding is a Kubernetes style service with nodes, pods, services, and tags. Okay, so what I do is I use Postman to set up my database settings, but also to test these routes that I've made for signing up users and services to my Kubernetes service. So these are the requests. And then what I've done is I've added configs to the admin user that say whether I'm allowed to add users and whether nodes are allowed to be added to users. And I've replicated my nodes, so this is a node database. Only the actual node itself will save its password. If it's on the client, it will use a browser window to save that password into the browser, or on the server it already has password protection itself to some degree. But that I'm going to leave to a later time to really understand what's the safest thing for locking down, let's say, Raspberry Pi in the wild. So anyway, there's Edge Node. There's Node for a non-admin user was added to the user database, as you can see. And then the user database has its own configuration, of course, and itself is all replicated here in order to avoid pooling each database in the future, or having security issues with always implementing like a mandatory friend admin that then has to be always respected, which would introduce some security issues. Okay, so now I'm thinking about deploying pods, their services, and tagging things. Yesterday I just finished the Node and user services. And what I think I'll do today is I'll start off by adding a enable user pods. So let's see, if the admin doesn't allow user pods to be added, then they cannot be managed through the server, which can boost security. Even though, so if I run a centralized a service that I want to be more centralized, or like not so open to deployment, if I deploy a single-use service, that's what I'm trying to say, is I'm trying to just deploy as a core that only supports a single service and nothing more. Then what I do is I just switch my admin user, or on my admin user configuration, all I do is I switch enable user pods. So this setting will be disabled if I only want a single use service to be run. So that should make it easier, at least in the beginning, to build apps that don't require the redeployment or user management of pods. So it logs down that only admin can run pods on this service. And this could be like a public setting so that people know. If, for example, you have a list of preset pods that you allow people to add and nothing more. So this means that, let's see, in the user config I'll have to add that setting as well. Okay, and now I'm going to give you a quick run through of the sequence of events that happens in the bootstrapping process, just to recap and to make sure that my code's still working after this small change. I noticed that CouchDB doesn't delete all the documents in a database. Oh yes, but it does replicate deletions, which is like contrary to another two of my false beliefs that I've noticed. So if I delete this document, then it will be gone from both replicated database, I think. Let's see. So this one it's not. And this one it's not, okay. So it doesn't go away. And then if I delete the node, does it delete? No. Okay, I must have seen that wrong. So then if I delete these two, then I should not see anything here. Okay, so that's very weird. At one level it does delete, and then at another level it does not. I suppose we'll have to retest this again just to see if it replicates. But that's very confusing. It's not consistent. So let's try again. I'm going to add this user. And then I'm going to add this node. And somehow it's not passing along my enable setting, which is weird. So I guess I have to debug that. But first, let's try doing this pod document deletion again. Oh, see, now that replicated fine. Maybe because it's on the same node?
Chevrolet Equinox. Find all-wheel drive, a 5-star overall vehicle score for safety, and Chevrolet Active Safety Tech.
Maybe it's because it's on the same database node? I have no idea. It's very, very confusing. Keep it in mind anyway. Okay. So when I add my user, now I will get a working solution now. Cool. Okay, so my users and my nodes are ready for my pods. And another idea is to think about admin pods and how they will get deployed. And how I want to say that my node is not yet provisioned until I have all my admin pods running on it. And if they failed running, maybe I'll add a monitor, or I will have to add a monitor that changes the pod state if my admin pods are changed or are not running. And right now I'm trying to think of how to write this bootstrapping mechanism for my pods. what the central services are going to be. So even though there's central elements to this, the idea to this Kubernetes web implemented with web technologies is that the pods and nodes get transferred to other central services, so you can share pods and nodes between deployments, or run them simultaneously eventually. So in essence, give you a seamless decentralized experience as like an operating system of the decentralized internet. Excuse me. So I seem to have already some services to guide me. And I'm thinking about what my object model will be for a pod and for like what do I do for saving and deleting, saving and loading. So the pod life cycle, I guess I have to think about the node life cycle. And maybe I can have a status. I'm trying to decide if I want to have a status object which would decouple the service-based logic from the bootstrapping logic. I think that's the way I want to go. Let's see. So what I have right now, the life cycle till now, is the edge node creates its own login, registers. I suppose it has a status too. So I'd have to delete that. Set that field. And I also have pods, which will be added by the admin interface to the pod database itself. So there will be a list of pod configs in the node database that are made centrally. So until an admin pod has been deployed, I will not have the status change on the node. So I suppose once the node is finalized, once the node is configured, then I'll initiate a pod deployment to that node. And I need to monitor that node. And what happens with the user database is that the user would have access to add a pod configuration here. Okay, so my service watches the pod database and the node database and the user database. Or I could just watch the user database and talk about, oh no, okay, and everything's connected in the admin database. So all I really have to do is I could look at users and nodes here. Log into their database. So let's see what happens for users. Okay, so if I see any pod configs appear in my admin database, I need to delete those out of the out of the user database and distribute them to the node database. And I have a config for I can watch the user configs for nodes. So I watched the config for nodes, and I directly add a pod, and I watch that pod for changes more so than for a regular user. So I'm talking about deploying a pod from the admin, the central admin, core admin service running on Kubernetes deployed in a cluster. So when a user config changes its node configs, I provision it. So, okay. Let's see. This is getting a little bit complex, so I think I want to do a per entity kind of workup for every type that I'm thinking about. Especially starting with pods, since they the services are getting a bit complex. So here is pods. I already have nodes and users, so that's kind of like a good so I have configuration to enable registration. Okay, so I have a working login mechanisms and replication, so that my edge services can, or like my node, for example, can have a live copy of the database without of its own synchronized data locally, and it can log into that. So I have object model validation for these things. And serialization. And then with the pods, what I want is admin pods. So I want to say custom admin pods, and then there's just like core admin pods, and then I want to have monitoring in the admin database. Of the user configs and pod configs. Node actually they're the node configs. And then local monitoring, and in fact I also need node pod configs for services. So that I would know centrally what pod I would distribute my requests to, if I were to receive a request for a service. And then I would need local monitoring of of node config. No. Yes, because I would need to manage pods, to manage the runtime pods. Of pods, and then I need pod config to run code and and configuration. Run code and report health. So this is just for the code. So I react to the pod config on the node, and I report the health of that pod, if it's running or no. So, oh, this is like if node is deactivated. Okay, so the node config, I watch it because for pod deployment, and the user, do I really need the user config to tell me anything? For node bootstrap. Okay. So, sorry about the noise again. It's not very easy to have housemates apparently who like to do music all day, every day. Anyway, I am thinking about how these core admin pods get deployed and kind of how are the admin pods different when they're custom? So I'm gonna need to somehow see if my relational results can pass along events as they're happening. Let's see if this find cool. So I can listen to this selector. Let's see.
Interact asks, what kind of story do you want your gifts to tell? This.
I knew you were looking for a messenger bag for work, so I got you this one. It's from a local designer. I saw it in her window, and right away I knew it would be perfect for you.
Or this.
Oh, cool, and it even returns the documents.
So I got you this tie. Oh, you wear ties, right?
Give gifts that mean a million this holiday season. Shop local using Interact Debit.
Okay, so it sounds like if I watch for changes on this field, let's see. That's not what I want. Is this where? Oh yeah. Huh. That's cool. So I can just wait for the changes. And then I can wait for the yeah, I can get the documents. And what I care about is is okay. So at every level, did I get other entities that I need that are different than what I have? So what? Oh, and another thing just occurred to me is that I need to somehow update the kind of node so I need to update the kind of node configuration with the admin pod. So it tells me what sort of, if it's a core, an edge node, or if it's a core, a remote. So edge is kind of like, is like non-registration. It could run on the cluster itself, or it could run outside of it, edge. But if it's remote, then that means it's strictly outside of the core cluster, and that would be the edge configuration of my Node.js server. Okay. So what would happen if I merely passed on the configuration that is available to the Node.js configuration itself? Is if it lies and it says it's part of the core, then it gets deployed the core. It gets deployed the core. Let's say there's a core pod that isn't allowed to run outside. It doesn't have any secrets. So at that level, I might benefit from being able to decentralize such a, like if, for example, I wanted my user to be able to run his own, like a service might run on a core pod, and I want to say, you are able to compile your own stuff without involving me, or you can run your own service on that edge node that is configured as a core, as a edge that is part of the core. So what I'm saying is that perhaps this edge node can run core pods, like services, suppose you could. The only thing that isn't gonna run but like so edge node can't run the admin, the core admin of orchestrate can't run core orchestration, but it can run services, it can run builds, it can run oh, and no secrets. Or core secrets. Can run builds. And it can run edge admin pods, edge or custom, so that's, I guess, what that setting gets us is if it's an edge, then no orchestration and no core service, which I guess isn't going to be deployed as pods anyway, because it depends on these things to make the whole thing, the whole service run anyway. But services will run on both. And so will admin pods that I add. Ooh, what if I want core admin pods that don't leave that garden? So core admin pods are excluded from running. Okay. So I guess I better start thinking about pod configs and how I'm gonna store this code as attachments, maybe. I do like the idea of having a bootstrap, configurable bootstrap. And then I guess I'll have pod services. I have core pod services, edge pod services. No, there's no such thing as core pod services. No, there is. They don't. They're for orchestration, right? So configurable bootstrap for different settings. So like if I can add pods for users, then I don't need a pod service on the node. Something like that. I'm gonna take a 5-minute break and see if I can think about how I'm gonna code this. Once I have pods as services, so I guess I need to also think about tags around the same time as pods. And then I need to think about services.
Are oh so ready to be reunited with each other and a cold, smooth, fresh Guinness. So here's to being together again. Ready when you are. Please enjoy responsibly.
The Acura Season of Performance event is on now. Stay bold in the cold and receive a limited time rate reduction of up to 1% on select 2021 Acura models. Conditions apply. Visit Acura.ca for details.
And once I get services, I'm pretty much done the the central work. Then I can focus on the client services. Okay, so I've been thinking about my service logic, and it turns out that I want to somehow detect whether or not and keep trying to initialize my service until somebody adds a user. So I guess that's why I wanted to avoid the whole thing by using an initializer, which I realize now because it's async, there's no great way to do this here. So I could put it in an async method that's called synchronously, so I don't have to wait for it. And set up my routes that way. So I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do to initialize my services, and then, even though it's more code, see, now I'm stuck with more code because I want less code on the initializer. So I guess I could just document that and call this main, or just core or something. Except for this one. So that gets run over here. So as my functions, as my core is required, I set it up in the background, so it's async. I really hope this works. But I have a bad feeling about this run app. Because it'll start the service. Let's see. Like, can I do create server? Before oh, I think not. That's cool. If it works. Alright, well that shouldn't be too hard to try out anyway. Because otherwise I'd have to wait to initialize anyway. So let's see. Edge. Let's see. So, will it blend? And it still works, eh? That's great. So I guess the general consensus is it usually works when I delete those replicated entities. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Get a $0 delivery fee on your first order. DoorDash. Delicious. Delivered. Minimum order of $10. Terms apply.
What does the astronaut do when they get back to Earth? I really want to know.
Every little thing answers your burning questions. Like, what's it like for an astronaut returning home after a year in space? I would be...
I'm gonna save this.
Another spacewalk, but if I had been dropped in the middle of a busy grocery store...
Just in case I ever need it.
Hear more on every little thing. Tap now to listen on Spotify.
It's called .json. Cool. So by now my server should be set up. I shouldn't have any problems. Okay, great. This means that I will indeed have everything in my admin database. Oops. Everything in my admin database. Wow. Okay, great. So this means that I can finally call initialize in my on my services without being worried that I would be missing something. So I don't have to create a whole waiting architecture that would then do something. I can just initialize it or fail. Or gracefully fail because I'm already initialized. So this async function main, this is what I was trying to do. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract those services and I'm going to put them inside my main function for my core server. So I guess I'm going to have to pin these because this is where my services are going. And I'm going into these routes, I guess. And I'm saying no, I do use this, don't get me wrong, but I guess here, even though I'm using it from two places, it saves me a lot of work. So these are routes and then there's services. And I'm going to leave this actually because I'm not looking at it so far. So let's see. So my edge service on my core node, my edge service will detect the service configuration. And that's a specific case that will be necessary to react to on the core. So I might actually need to need to consider this in the future. We'll see. I'll worry about the quote first. So. Oh, and actually I don't need this, because that will be passed in an argument. So now I go in my constructor and I say, oh no, okay. My bad. Okay. So here is the service bootstrapping. Okay, and then this and this will need to revert the initializers. I wish there was an easier way to do bike shedding other than just going back and forth between versions, but there's a little bit of churn. Unfortunately. But at least this way I know what is the best way, you know? So then I go user service.init. And then let node service and that's the minimum necessary that I need in order to not worry about when is my service initialized. I just wait for it. So now if I delete it and I start my service, then I'll see the admin user right away. And that way I can have all my settings ready by the time the first user's added. So let's try it again. Also because of, I just realized, because of this change, then I have a problem. No. I don't need this status, do I? I guess I could leave it in. And this will work great. I could technically try and get rid of this status, but I feel like it's cleaner this way because it prevents a reinitialization. So it just works. Alright. Let's see if it runs. Again, this node config didn't get deleted. Okay, but they both got deleted here. So I guess it's like at the database cluster level that it fails to replicate those deletes. That's cool.
Welcome to the Flavor. DoorDash is like having every neighborhood in your hands with all your local faves.
Oops. What's wrong here? I guess I wasn't fast enough on deleting those things. But anyway. So if this should already be working here in the initializer. Yeah. So I should be having no problems with this. This means that I have a user now. Great. So that bootstrapped. Great. And then I send my requests. And I receive my new user. Great. And my new node. Great. And then there's some errors, like I was actually wondering. Can I add my user again? No, probably not. Can I add my node again? Let's see. Ooh, nice. That's a cool error. Oh, because it's signed up with the same name. Nice. I just realized that it will give me unique names already, and that's like a free error. That's amazing. And of course, it promptly dies, which is fine. I mean, it's not too worrisome that I'll have to catch each request error and handle it. Even though, like, I don't want to do it straight up, like around for the full service call. that would not be something I'm interested in. I would like to pass along the error. Like, I wouldn't just want it to just fail silently so that it knows. Can I just pass an error? Is that error JSON what? Let's see. Oh, nice. So I have a status. Let's see. I have a status code and then a detail. So it's an actual HTTP error, which is, I guess it could be like an internal server error and an HTTP error, or in a duplicate error. What's a duplicate? I guess. Let's see. Conflict. Okay, that's cool. So you get it at 409. So I just pass it along. And now I realize I might have introduced some problem. My setup is not working as well as I want it to. So I'm gonna have to debug it, I guess. Or not, whatever you guys think. I got a 409 on something. Is it like, no? That's really cool. Although, like, I'm not impressed with this error. At least I can make so it's a list of it, or an object with an errors. With an errors, oh wow. And JSON API. JSONAPI.org. So I suppose this is what you would, this is kind of like a standard Oh, nice. Hmm. Yeah, I believe that this is the actual API. Anti-bike shedding? I don't know about anti-bike shedding, but more like the low bike shedding. Included. Where's my error? No. Anyway, so that's useful. Is there like a library for this, or? Is there a library? There's this one. And then there's this one. Okay. I'm not sure I understand why. So it changes it into JSON?
Twisted Tea. So good. Wouldn't your favorite music be better twisted too? Like, if hip hop had more accordions?
Right. Okay.
Or classic country mashed up with metal.
Not well documented. I guess this is a deserializer. No weekly downloads. Okay. So I guess I know which one's the right one. Okay. So options. Attributes. That's it? It just has some attributes. And some relationships. Wow. I see. So this API, this JSON API, I'm just using it for errors, so right now it doesn't really think that much, but if I want to, it's like a layer on top of my routes so that it can be a single so that it can put JSON in front of my routes and it can be a single API point that works with JSON instead of the regular HTML. This is a good package to consider, I guess, but not at the beginning. Because it's not like I'm just thinking about my error. It's not gonna care about different types and whatnot. It's just either it's already pre-made anyway from the database. So that answers that question. So keep it in mind. Now I've been avoiding this problem. So this is really weird. Where in my core? Okay, here. Okay, so why did it stop? It was caught, but not the right way or something. It's still running. Let's see. Is my server still up? No. And then I can't add users, right? It failed right here. Well, that's awkward because it's not like I caught that error. I've been catching it a while ago. But I suppose if my main... I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so if I delete this... It's trying to initialize though. This shouldn't be a problem. So let's see. If I go here, if I go here, and I go reset my service, inside a debug shell, of course. Will it break? So this happens in this service. Oh, I see, but it's supposed to? Oh, because it's async, I can't start using... No. So I'm worried that here... No. So in my init, I'm awaiting this. So it should go. And it doesn't. Because this is the synchronous catch, and it might not work with the async catch except at the top level. Oh, but there is no conflict anyway. Just noticed. What is it? Error. Conflict. So I reject the promise. So I reject the promise. And my try catch is not valid. Do I not? Okay. Save result. Flat promise. So this promise, when it's saving, which is in here, await save. So this bubbles up badly to and completely avoids the rest of this. So if I had a catch around here, if I could patch it in through here, then I would be able to catch it. So this error is very complicated because for some reason it requires that I have a full error handling throughout my async chain, which I did before, but now I don't, because init itself is being called as an async function, which it was. before. So it was on the route, which was async. And now it's kind of like out of band in an async context as it's initializing. And for some reason, it's not. That never hits, and that never hits. Okay. This same thing happened before when I didn't have. See, when I didn't have this, so I needed to work around with that promise that is rejected. And so if these promises aren't chained up fully, I guess it's just gonna say it's unhandled. Even though it is, it's just not handled over here. Essentially. So I could clean out my damn code. And that's it. So if I can turn this off, maybe this could work better. This could be a good fix for Node.js. Let's see. Yes, we get it. So I need like a try catch inside the function, I guess. Like here, and then just rethrow. I guess that's what I'd have to do. I'd have to say this will rethrow. Let's see. Even better. just cosmetic fix. Even though I don't like it. And rethrow, and this will work. I mean, I don't mind. Let's see. I think it would be cleaner though. Without, I don't know about more secure, but it's definitely cleaner without try catch. Less lines, not necessarily cleaner. I can see that you'd want to know, at least. Okay, so I guess it was not handled anyway. Reject. So let's try with this, with the line that it says. Oh, and there's throw. Hey, that would be good. If they were different somehow. Oh. Okay. I guess I'm just gonna have to try this one. Yeah. So I guess that was unhandled. And then strict. I guess that's just not gonna work either. And if I do it as a warning, then what? Oh wow. Oh wow. So it doesn't really matter. See, this is what I'm talking about. Why are you making it hard for people to use the language and go through the least amount of lines, you know? Okay, I guess I gotta run Node differently if that's gonna work. And then in the hopes that someday this will be much more intuitive. Because I don't see I don't see why I have to work with promises if I have the await async syntax, which is shorter, right? So I don't. that's not conducive to good business. Where are we? Package.json. Node. Debug dev. Start. Okay. So, I'm sorry, I don't like warnings either, but this is gonna have to do for now. So that I can just initialize and nothing needs to be rewritten or promises need to be specifically handled. Try catch is not working in async, I guess. Yes, it will generate that exception, but I don't care. So it's still, and if my async handlers have an exception, it will also keep the service up, which is easier in some respects to manage. I don't have to write a monitor unless the process itself goes down, which I guess Kubernetes does anyway, like it monitors health and whatnot, so this should be good. So, without a catch block. Is there an ignore? Just completely ignore. I guess I don't want that, but okay. Stricter throw. Oh, and I guess the rejection and the exception is different. Promise, rejection. So if I have an exception, like I don't find the user or some such, then I also want to try ignoring it. Event warning. So let's see. No, so throw. Let's see. Where is the debug flag. There we go. Throw silence warnings. Warn with error code. This is probably what I would want ideally. So. What's the default? Throw is the default. Right. So it just depends on the hook, and I don't care about the hook because I'm doing await async. So this one is probably like a none or a warn. And then unhandled something else. Exceptions. Oh. Okay. Not what I want. So none. And then on caught exception. Yeah, but if my route handler, it's not just my route handler though, it's my whole setup script. If any of those services get an unhandled exception, then technically I get a promise that gets broken. So I might get away with unhandled promises. Let's do this again, just to check. Okay, there's the error. And it's good. Okay, and the service actually gets called appropriately with, like, the promise gets created. So if it's all async, then I would see the warnings. But when I go to run it in production, I could probably just set them off and I would get no more crashes. So let's say I have this user, right? And then I'm going to do this whole thing again. So it runs. And I have my other user, and then I go and add a node to it. Yeah. and then I go and add the note to it. In fact, I might just leave it to a warning, just so you can see if there are exceptions generated in the log of this server. You would basically see the output, and you could debug it. Which this is very funny. My own computer is running out of space, but that's the problem. Is like I might just want that just for space. If I expect these errors, then I can turn them off. It's a hard decision. It's not straightforward, but at least my code is clean and everything's done. So if I have a double exception, will it throw? Nope. Oh, cool. Okay, so exception handling is done. If it throws, it just doesn't care. Keeps the service up. I suppose I want them silent. Because now I know for sure, oh well, the route failed, but I don't, it's not exactly like a bad situation. Unless, like I would test this and I would say, okay, is it behaving the way that I want it? Like, if I don't throw this conflict back to the, this 409, so when my user gets, where's the route? When my user gets a conflict here, I could throw either that conflict or like I could reply with a 409, and I could say 409 example. Do I not get a body? Oh yeah. So I would get that error somewhere. So I would put this as a try catch. So try, and then if there's an error, then I try responding it with with a different status code. So it would bubble up, and then here in the route, I would know what codes I need to reply with. And that could be a test instead of an error, or like a critical a critical async not handled type stuff. So here I go an internal server error, which is 500, I think. So of course JSON would have been nice, but I think I like this better. Where here. Mm, 409. Body. Okay. So the body is the error. And then return. Otherwise it's a 500 without a body. And that's how my service kind of evolves. These are the errors that I'm expecting at the service level. And I hook up the response. So now I'm going to do the same for the other one. And this way I'll be ready for those exceptions. And I will put the package to nothing. Where is it? When should I remember this? None. Okay. So that should work. is conflict. Oh dear. No. If it is conflict. And then what is the difference between 200 created? Cool. Okay, so let's see what we have right now. Okay, I have everything. And so even the node. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-add the node. And watch it fail. Cool. And that's how that works. So if I have errors that I'm expecting, then I can put them in here. And maybe I could even deduplicate the codes at some point. And just create an error handler for my stuff. But for now, it's good. I'm happy with this. So I still have this warning. But at least it's not big. So there's not going to be a lot of memory created for this specific issue of the language. Come on. You didn't think I'd just sit around and not use async and await, did you? I'm talking to the TypeScript developers. Okay, so confusion aside, I think now that I'm initialized, I need the different kinds of services that are going to provide the foundations of let's see, foundations of even the core edge. The core edge pods, which are going to run for this administrator. So core edge pods, which I'd like to deploy specifically. So the edge service kind of connects, the edge service on the core node connects to the core service. No. It's not even a core node. It's just the edge service connects to the core service. It adds its user. It adds its node with a specific configuration. It's got a bootstrap. So depending on the configuration, it runs its bootstrap on that configuration. Its configuration is core. It's core and edge. Okay. It's never only core. So I'm talking about this. So the start modes. It's an array of 2 strings. So it's going to be true if it's core, and false or true if edge. And it's never just true false. Like, this never happens. Because in order to run, but the other way it can't. So if it's got false and true, obviously false and false doesn't make any sense. So if it's false and true, then it's only edge. Okay. I suppose I could do something here to see if they're, so if they're both off, nothing happens. If it's only core, then you would have to throw an error, because nothing would run the core services. Okay. So I guess I run this, and then I say if no. Here. It's fine. But if here I have a problem, then I go I just throw saying that. So this will actually stop the server. Configuration error. A core server expects configuration error. And actually I don't even need to throw an error. I just assume. If I change the configs here, do they change? They don't change in my file. In my red file, that's probably for sure. But they might change across. So somewhere here, if I go here and I say, so I have it in my routes, and I basically set it up at the beginning as something else, like config.foo equals test, something like that. And then I check it over here in the config variable. Let's see. Since I made a change to the W, I don't actually need to change my server. But I do need this, I do need this debug terminal to run with the correct parameters. Whoa! Mode 16. Modes. Okay. So, and when this is happening, then I can go here and I can say config.foo. Nice. Okay, so that means that I can automatically change that config setting and I don't need to be worried about passing it through my configuration, and I don't need to worry about anything else in not receiving the change. So I go config.modes equals, and then I go true and true. And then I can say here Okay. So I'm gonna run this like so. And I already have that in there. So this is not gonna care. Okay. I think I'm gonna oh, okay, so yeah, that's the expected warning anyway. So now I've handled my exceptions by basically ignoring them and not having them take down my service. I do count them apparently. I don't know what, hook into that at some point, but for now all I'm saying is that if it's not designed properly, it's gonna fail. So I'm just gonna test it, kind of like this conflict error, that if you get that error, then you just expect it to be passed from the database to the user. Same goes for anything else. Is just an internal server error, like if you delete your user and then you try to add like a note to it, like so. I think I could do this. Let's see what I get here. Oops. Postman is starting to crash. So if I send this, then all I'm going to get is a 500. But I'm not going to worry about it. In fact, I could worry about it. I could test it. I could see what... because now it's easy. Now all I have to do is just look for the exception itself, and then I decide whether or not I want to care about it. So if I go here and I send this, oh wow, okay, apparently it's not even doing the whole warning stuff. So let's try the caught ones. Like the warning isn't transferring into a thrown exception or a non-caught exception. And then what my error is not found, 404. So I could also pass this one along. That's not a problem. So I could do status 409 and status 404. And that way it would be easier to know what's going on with the whole server. So here, if error.status and then I go what's like array contains, includes. Okay. So if I have this dot includes, so 409 and 500, then I go error.status. Otherwise, what was it, 404? So like this, that saves me from the internal server errors, but I do have the ones that I expect from the database, which makes things a lot more straightforward. So now, actually, I think I will set my thing to core, my setup to core, just to test that after I get offline here. Just so that I can simplify like what's usually set up and make sure that doesn't change. Okay, so now I'm gonna build this and make sure it works. 409 duplicate and 404. Ooh. Oh, I see. Okay. Now I hope these are numbers and not strings, but we'll see. Okay, so testing errors right now. I have my data here, and I have error number 1. Okay, it's good. I have error number 1, which is a conflict, and error number 2, which is a 404. So that's nice and exciting. That's what I was trying to accomplish with this initializing of the core services and kind of fixing up the errors so that at least it's usable. Like I know from the database I'm not finding something. And then I don't expose any bugs or anything like that to the user. So if my server goes, index not found or something, it throws from the database before it throws in the code itself, which means I can just forward that error from the database, no problem. And I'm not worried about, stacks going into my logs and security issues like that. It's just this kind of error. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you learned something. This is Friday signing off.